Look up at the night sky and you might see a dazzling golden light shining just before sunrise or after sunset. That brilliant glow isn't a star, it's Venus, our closest planetary neighbor and the second planet from the Sun. For centuries, humans admired it as a symbol of love, beauty, and perfection. But the truth is far darker. Beneath that golden shimmer lies one of the most hostile worlds ever discovered, a planet where metal melts, storms of acid rage endlessly, and the air itself could crush a spacecraft. Today, we're uncovering the secrets of Venus, Earth's beautiful but deadly twin, and the terrifying story of how it became the most extreme world in our solar system. When we look at Venus from a distance, it seems peaceful. It's about the same size as Earth, almost the same mass, and even has a similar composition. In fact, if you placed Venus and Earth side by side, you'd notice how alike they are in shape and density. That's why scientists once believed Venus might be home to oceans, forests, and even life. Early astronomers called it our sister planet, a warm, shining twin that might have been another version of Earth. But as technology improved and spacecraft began to visit Venus, that illusion shattered. What we discovered was a world that's anything but welcoming. Venus is an inferno. Its atmosphere is thick, so thick that sunlight barely reaches the surface. Composed mostly of carbon dioxide, it traps heat like a massive thermal blanket in a runaway greenhouse effect. That heat builds up and never escapes. Temperatures on the surface can reach more than 465 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of Mercury, even though Mercury orbits much closer to the Sun. To give you an idea of how extreme that is, lead would melt on the surface of Venus. It's so hot that any spacecraft landing there lasts only a few minutes or hours before being destroyed. The atmosphere doesn't just trap heat, it also crushes everything beneath it. The pressure on Venus is about 90 times greater than what we experience on Earth. Imagine the weight of an entire ocean pressing down on you. That's what it would feel like to stand on Venus. The air is thick like soup, filled with carbon dioxide and clouds of sulfuric acid. These clouds are so dense and reflective that they bounce sunlight back into space, making Venus appear incredibly bright in our skies. That's why ancient civilizations referred to it as the morning star or the evening star. It was visible even before dawn and after sunset, glowing with a steady golden light. But beneath those beautiful clouds lies a deadly world of poison and fire. One of the strangest things about Venus is the way it moves. Unlike most planets, Venus rotates backward. While Earth and most others spin from west to east, Venus spins in the opposite direction, from east to west. That means if you were standing on the surface, the sun would rise in the west and set in the east, the exact opposite of what we see on Earth. Even more astonishing, Venus rotates incredibly slowly. A single day on Venus, the time it takes to complete one rotation, is 243 Earth days long. That's longer than its own year, which takes only 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. In simple terms, a day on Venus lasts longer than a year there. Now let's talk about its surface, one that has remained hidden from our eyes for centuries. Because the thick atmosphere blocks all visible light, no telescope on Earth can see the ground directly. We only began to uncover Venus's landscape when radar imaging was used, especially by NASA's Magellan spacecraft in the 1990s. What Magellan revealed was astonishing. Beneath those thick clouds lies a vast world covered with mountains, valleys, lava plains, and thousands of volcanoes. Venus has more volcanoes than any other planet in the solar system, over 1,600 major ones and possibly hundreds of thousands of smaller ones. Some scientists believe many of these volcanoes might still be active. In 2023, evidence emerged showing changes in volcanic vents that suggest recent eruptions. That means Venus isn't a dead planet. It's alive and still reshaping itself through volcanic fire. These volcanoes have helped create enormous lava plains that stretch across most of the planet's surface. There are also massive highland regions, towering mountains, and strange circular structures called coronae, likely formed by the upwelling of hot material from the planet's interior. There's even a mountain taller than Mount Everest called Maxwell Montes, which rises about 11 kilometers high. But even up there, the conditions are brutal. High temperatures, toxic air, and acid clouds that never clear. Scientists believe Venus wasn't always like this. Billions of years ago, it might have been much more Earth-like. It could have had liquid water, oceans, and a mild climate. But something went terribly wrong, possibly due to excessive volcanic activity or changes in the sun's brightness. Venus entered a runaway greenhouse effect. Its oceans boiled away, releasing water vapor, a powerful greenhouse gas, into the atmosphere, trapping even more heat. Over time, the planet's surface became a furnace, and any trace of water disappeared into space. What's left is a haunting example of how a once habitable world can destroy itself through natural processes that spiraled out of control. Interestingly, scientists also study Venus to understand climate change on Earth. Venus shows us the extreme outcome of greenhouse warming, a reminder of how fragile planetary atmospheres can be. By studying Venus's atmosphere, pressure, and temperature, we can learn more about how our own planet's climate might evolve in the far future. Despite its hostile environment, Venus continues to fascinate space agencies. After decades of focusing on Mars, NASA and other organizations are now returning their attention to this fiery planet. Two upcoming missions, Veritas and Da Vinci Plus, are set to launch in the coming years. Veritas will map the planet's surface with high-resolution radar, revealing geological features and signs of recent activity. Da Vinci Plus will dive into Venus's thick atmosphere, analyzing its gases layer by layer to understand how it formed and evolved. The European Space Agency is also planning its own mission called Envision, which will provide even more detailed views of Venus's geology and atmosphere. Together, these missions could finally answer the biggest questions. Did Venus ever have oceans? Could it have supported life long ago? And why did it turn into such a nightmare world? Interestingly, some researchers have even speculated about the possibility of life high in Venus's atmosphere. While the surface is too hot and too harsh for anything to survive, the upper layers of the clouds, about 50 to 60 kilometers above the ground, have temperatures and pressures somewhat similar to Earth's. A few years ago, scientists thought they detected a mysterious gas called phosphine there, which on Earth is often produced by living organisms. While that finding remains debated and unconfirmed, it reopened the question, could microbial life exist in the clouds of Venus? If true, that would completely change our understanding of where life can exist in the universe. Venus also holds an important place in human history and culture. For centuries, it was one of the most studied celestial objects. The ancient Greeks associated it with the goddess of love and beauty, Aphrodite. The Romans called it Venus, after their own goddess of beauty, a name that has lasted ever since. Yet, ironically, this planet of beauty hides a monstrous nature, a true cosmic paradox. It's a symbol of both brilliance and destruction. So, the next time you step outside and see that bright golden star shining in the dawn or evening sky, remember, that's Venus. It's not just a glowing dot, it's a world of unimaginable extremes, a place where beauty meets chaos. A planet that could have been like Earth but took a different path. Venus reminds us how thin the line is between habitability and disaster, between paradise and inferno. As we continue to study Venus, we're not just learning about another planet, we're learning about ourselves, about how fragile our own atmosphere is, and how precious our balance of life really is. Venus is our mirror, showing us what might happen if our planet's systems ever spiral out of control.